Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com, and what I'll do is talk about free market charity. So a lot of times libertarians and sometimes conservatives will talk about the idea that in a free market charity, basically you won't necessarily need government to provide some sort of centralized aid funded through taxation. Doesn't mean that there shouldn't be provision of aid. We just believe that it would be provided decentralized, voluntarily, through charities and community organizations, etc. But then they look at the real world and the way charities work now and be like, that's hard for me to see. So what I want to do is just kind of address some of those concerns. The first concern is about how charities work now. You got to realize that the market for charities now is very distorted, mainly because of the way the tax rules work. So, for example, there's a couple really big taxes. In particular, I want to talk about the estate tax. So if you're like a billionaire and you die, basically your wealth gets cut in half because the value of your estate is subject to the estate tax, and anything above like 5.35 million will get taxed at like 50%. So what you do is you try to find ways to avoid the estate tax, and one of the ways you can avoid the estate tax is through charity. So any money you leave to charity is exempt from the estate tax. So what happens is that rich people end up leaving a lot of their money, and same thing with gift tax. You avoid gift tax by giving to charity. So people set up charities, and you have to do some sort of charitable good with the charity, but that's not the purpose of why they set up the charity. They set up the charity in order to avoid things like the gift tax and the estate tax. So what happens is the charities have become a means, not an ends. And that's what's wrong with today's charitable market. So people basically create these charities and they leave all their wealth to the charity when they die, or they say they're going to. And the idea is that pretty much everyone in the family works at the charity, has salaries from the charity, etc. And basically the charity becomes a way to distribute that wealth to the family with avoiding the estate tax. Same thing, or they give gifts to the estate tax. So basically you fund the charity and the charity gives scholarships to all your grandchildren. That's because of tax incentives. By taxing people, you created incentives for them to use the mechanism of charity in a way that it should have never been intended to use. People should just be able to keep their money. But if you had a free market where you're absent of these tax incentives, the only reason you would start a charity would be to do good, to do something charitable, which means when you're going out there and choosing where to donate your money to when you do donate, it'll be easier to donate to actual charities instead of donating to charities that are not necessarily set up to be as charitable as one would like. So again, the charitable market you have now is very, very distorted. That's part of the response. The second part of the response is the other thing that people have trouble imagining is that they imagine that a free market must provide enough aid to support everybody who needs help now, because apparently that's how many people need help. But you got to understand, in that free market environment, the idea is that there will be more opportunities because more resources can actually be used to do productive things. So in that imaginary world, and sort of in that direction, in the world that's of the libertarian concept, there's going to be less people who need aid because you won't have things like occupational licensing preventing you from being able to switch careers, or creating costs that make it impossible for you to pursue a higher income and get yourself out of poverty. There won't be so many rules and red tape regarding starting your own business so you can get yourself out of poverty. There'll be all these opportunities that don't exist now. That'll make it easier for a lot more people to be able to provide for themselves. Now, of course, there's still going to be people who, no matter how much opportunities out there, are going to need help, whether it's because they're disabled, whether because they've just fallen on hard times, or they have other types of issues that, whether it's like things like post-traumatic stress disorder or other mental health issues that might prevent them from being able to fully take care of themselves. And there will be charities that help them. But that burden of how many people need that help is going to be a lot less because you have a more robust market that can provide opportunities to those who otherwise could provide for themselves that are not available now. And on top of it, you would have a better charitable market because charities would only be started for the purpose of helping people. It's no longer a tax play, as it is now. So it's a different world. So when people say, hey, as a libertarian, I want a world where basically social aid is provided through charity, they're imagining a different world. And the problem is, saying through charity makes it seem like all aid is provided through charity. But you're forgetting a lot of other places where aid comes from. Insurance companies. And again, there's a lot of distortionary incentives in the insurance market nowadays as well that really prevents insurance companies from having the accountability that would prevent them from being the social actors they would otherwise be in a freer market. But bottom line is, for most people who will have opportunities, who can afford to purchase insurance contracts, things like a lot of the risks that you take in life, a lot of the unexpecteds in life would be covered via insurance contracts. And there'd be insurance markets for all sorts of things there aren't markets for now because of intervention, such as deposit insurance, unemployment insurance. There'd be private unemployment insurance markets. There'd be private FDIC or private deposit insurance markets that will help price the risk, which helps discourage risk-taking, kind of like when you buy car insurance, where basically if you're in a situation where you're more likely to get into a car accident, you're going to be paying more for that insurance. So that encourages you to not be in a situation where you're more likely to get into a car accident and build a good track record. It would be the same thing with deposit insurance, same thing with unemployment insurance. You'd be able to take actions that would keep your premiums lower. And that minimizes societal risk to everybody, and that's a good thing. And that also means there's less need for resources to be dedicated to aid, and more resources can be used to productive uses. Right now, we're doing things in an inefficient way where we create incentives to create a world where more aid is needed. And the problem is we don't have enough resources producing more to keep up with the growing demand for aid. And this is not a sustainable situation. That's why I want to move in that libertarian direction, because it's going to help more people and make the world better for more people. My name is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com. Share this video. Have a great day and enjoy.